Richards trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease.
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go, here we go.
You're listening to the Pod Street Blues Podcast with your hosts, Derek.
Now you gotta get it, Bobby.
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Pod Street Bullies. My name is Derek. We are not here with John, but we are here with Hoagie. We're here with Casey. What's going on, guys?
Hey, how's it going? John's taking care of his kids like a chump.
I know. Who does that, man?
My screams in the background.
Who does that? Kids. Anyway, so the three gentlemen here who know how to handle their kids are here to talk some Flyers hockey. And I know John's going to be upset when he hears that. So regardless, we want to get into, obviously, the rosters now have been set. We have one player in particular that we're going to discuss at length in terms of making the team. What surprises, what we're a little bit shocked by, and then get into a little bit of what we expect when it comes to the rest of the season. We're going to be realistic, but we're also going to give our viewpoints in regards to if all things fall into place. We're going to be a little optimistic here tonight. So
right now, everyone has an equally great shot to get the Stanley Cup, except the Buffalo Sabres, who somehow are 0-2 before the rest of the league has started.
They've officially been disqualified from the playoffs.
Also, I didn't realize Lindy Ruff was back up there.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they're
Why would you subject yourself to that twice?
Yeah, that's a tough draw. And when we start at like 2:30 in the morning on Friday? Is that right?
10.
It's going to be 10 p.m. and I'm going to stay up and watch every second.
I might stay up for it. I might stay up for that.
I'm 100% staying up for that.
Yeah.
I did take your guys' advice too, and I shaved. So there's that.
Mordecai Bob is no longer.
I've given up the brotherhood. All right, getting into the roster. So what we're looking at in terms of forwards here, just going down the list, going real quick. I'm going to gloss over one because we're going to get into it here in a little bit. But you've got Bobby Brink, Noah Cates, Sean Couturier, Nick Delorier, Joel Farabee, Tyson Forrester, Morgan Frost, Garnet Hathaway, Travis Konechny, Scott Lawton, Matvei Michkov, Ryan Poehling, Owen Tippett. Gentlemen, any surprises there in terms of the forwards?
Except the one you skipped.
Except the one I skipped.
He said him. But
Did he?
Yeah.
I did not. I did not say who you think I said, unless you're thinking I said Michkov, and let's be honest, that's no surprise.
I would say no real surprises on there. I know that there was some some sniffles of Ollie Lexell actually making a move, and I think that's great, man. You want competition in there, and for all intents and purposes, it sounds like that he would be the first call up if something happens. I think we know that Delorier, is going to be in and out, and I think that's probably been made clear to him the same way. Well, we won't get into defense, but the same way a TBD name defenseman, is going to be in and out. But right. I think for the first time in a while, we have this semblance of a little depth. I'm not saying we have great depth, but like we got a little something teetering there. And that also doesn't include Gove's boys, Sumo Talamuno, but no, I don't think there's any shocks. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how things shake out over the next couple weeks in there.
Mm-hmm. So the one question that I have, and I think question and concern kind of go hand in hand here. I'm looking at our center depth. We could go back to last year, the year before too. Always a concern, but Sean Couturier, Morgan Frost, Ryan Paling, and then the TBD name here appear to be our centers moving forward into the season. Is there any concern from either of you regarding those 4 names?
Yeah. I think. Sorry, Hoagie. Do you want to go? I've been taking up the
Sure.
airwaves.
I mean, the two.
Get in there, Hoagie.
There's the 2 names. You got Frost and you have TBD. I'm just going to say his name because I'm tired of saying TBD. Luchanko slotting in this 3C. Obviously, that was Noah Cates' spot to lose in training camp, and he lost it. And I have a very strong feeling that Torts and Briere are not very happy with how he showed himself in camp. So I mean, obviously Luchanko is gonna. He showed himself. They think he can play the position for now. I mean, I'm hoping these 9 games he just takes off and stays for the rest of it. But I mean, he's obviously the big surprise. The 18-year-old, he's slated to be the youngest Flyers player ever to suit up in a game. So that's pretty exciting. But I mean, I feel like there's still a lot of unknowns on if he can keep up with the NHL pace of play.
Yeah. I think Hoagie hit on it, but the Cates thing is, I'm not going to say concerning, but it's just intriguing because you backtrack 2 years ago, he was the first line center, for God's sakes, which it says a lot there. But I think we know what he's capable of, and we also know he can slot on the wing, which does allow some versatility in there if some injuries do end up hitting, which inevitably is going to happen. But I just feel like, you're right. Either Cates lost it or Luchanko is indeed that good. And I have to put a little bit of faith that Torts isn't going to sugarcoat this and just do it for the sake of good press mentions, because you know what? We already have a ton of good press mentions with Matvei Mania. And, so it's not a PR thing. Not that I think Torts would do that anyway. So you'd like to think the kid's earned it. The question for me is, has he earned it for 9 games or has he earned it for
82?
See,
my thing with Case is I feel like they're pushing him to an edge. They're holding him to a bigger standard because he was producing so well offensively last year until he got hurt. And they wanted him to pick up where he left off, and he hasn't been able to get those gears running or his legs going or whatever.
Did he have surgery?
I don't think so. I thought was it a wrist? I feel like it was a wrist or something.
Yeah. See, he was not the same gear last year.
He was not. As soon as he came back from injury, he was not the same gear, not the same player. And we saw that regression throughout the year. So I feel like they're holding him to a higher standard. But I'm sure they held Luchanko to that same standard as we hear throughout their episodes, preseason episodes. Like, there's that standard, and I think Luchanko superseded what they wanted.
Right, and presumably you're looking at Noah Cates likely being a scratch when it comes to the opening night roster, because in my mind, I think that's where you guys stand too, but speak for yourselves, obviously. If you're keeping Luchanko on the roster, he's making the opening night roster. Like, he's going to be in the lineup. So that begs the question then, out of that forward group, there's going to be one more that's going to sit here for the opening night game against Vancouver. And I mean, in my mind, you're looking at 2 guys. It's either Delorier or it's Brink. So against a Vancouver team who I feel like more so like a skilled team, I mean, would you look to have one or the other in there? Because I'm leaning towards Brink. I think Brink should be in the lineup. I think they'll probably sit Delorier.
Okay.
However, I mean,
I think Delorier is coming out.
I think Delorier is the de facto scratch, unless you play one of those teams that does have a lot of beef on it. But I don't know Vancouver's roster from a hole in the wall. But I think the Brink one's interesting to me, because I was kind of penciling him in as, like, from what I heard, his camp actually was good. And so I don't know, like, we all know he's one bonehead play away from being benched, like Kevin Hayes. But I'd like
Kevin Hayes reference.
There he is. Go deep into Hayes today. But I'd like to think that Brink, who was very young, and again, having met him in person, humble brag. He's a little dude. Like, he's my size. And
you're a little dude.
I'm 5'7". Like, he's maybe 5'8", maybe 5'9", and like much trimmer than I am. And so he's not a big dude. And so you'd like to think that, back to that culture thing with a bunch of the guys sticking around in Philly all summer and him, strength and conditioning and doing the right thing. Like, maybe he is good enough. But I think, Derek, back to your question, like, Laurier's the automatic out. And then, you're going to have a Cates Luchanko swap in. And I don't know. I don't think you can have Luchanko sit for too long. But at the same time, I don't think you can burn the kid for 82 games straight.
Right.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I'm very excited to see, because I mean, obviously this is still, you want to call it technically a 9-game tryout. If things don't work out over the first 9 games that this kid plays, they can send him back to Guelph. No harm, no foul. They don't burn a year of his entry-level deal, which I'm completely okay with. If it's I think that's kind of the reason why Cates is still here. Obviously, I think that, you can plug Cates back in if Luchanko doesn't work out. I'm a fence sitter on this, because like, I'm happy it's that shiny new toy, but we already have one in Michkov too. You're like, oh man, like, we got 2 of them. This is great,
Right.
But I worry the long term of both ends here, because I look at it and almost want to compare it to Scott Lawton, where he was a phenomenal player in juniors. He put up the points, he did really well, and then we expected the world of him, brought him up, and then he just kind of didn't develop that offensive side of things and turn into that point getter that a lot of people thought he would be. Same thing with Couturier. However, it took Couturier a little bit longer before he developed into that. I don't want that for Luchanko. I want him to thrive right off the bat. However, I worry about it. I don't want to say stunting his growth, but I feel like that's the best way to put it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if you push someone too hard, too fast, you get the Ristolainen effect. Like, seriously.
Yeah,
Like,
no. It's the rushing of the development. That's all it comes down to. And that was brought up in the conference with Danny Briere this morning, where they're like, do you think you're rushing his development? And Briere literally said, he's like, listen, some players were rushed and they didn't make it. Some players, such as Bergeron, was rushed, and look at the player he became. I think that's a subtle name drop for comparison from Luchanko to Bergeron.
It's not a really good comp, I don't think.
But apparently, some people comped him that during the draft class too. So like, he might have that IQ, but I just don't know how confident I am in either the rushing, or I don't even know what really to call it, because I don't think it's rushing. I feel like he did earn this spot. I think he has the skill and the IQ to produce. And when it comes to lines, this is what Jordan Hall tweeted today. It's Michkov, Couturier, Konechny, first line. Second line was Tippett, Frost, Forster. Third line, Farabee, Luchanko, Brink, which I really like personally.
Sorry, say that third line again.
Farabee, Luchanko, Brink.
Farabee, Luchanko, Brink.
I like it personally. I think it's it's young.
I think that line's going to be
creative.
Pushed around. Yeah, I think that line's going to be pushed around, man.
I think you got to have a solid D pair behind him.
Yeah,
Sealer, Risto, whoever, to kind of help that. And then fourth, Lawton, Paling, Hathaway. So obviously, D'Lo and Cates are the 2 odd men out.
Yeah, that's interesting. Those first 2 lines, I think. Sorry, who was Michkov paired with?
Coots and TK.
Is that your first line?
I'm not going to say I disagree. Obviously, I'm not the coach. I'm not involved with the team. But like,
what? Since when?
Right. Aside from that one joke I made on the Pod Street account one time, but I kind of want to see Michkov and Frost together. Like, they showed some really good chemistry, and I think
that's power play.
Well, and that's fine. However,
you want those lines too? Because I got them.
Power play's been terrible, and I mean, sure, presumably it will be better. I mean, it's hard to be worse than
32nd in the league.
Yeah, what was it? 11-12% conversion rate. That's
We were
just
32nd in the league. It doesn't get worse.
But the percentage still can.
yeah, percentage
Who cares?
absolutely still can. Like, heaven forbid it gets under 10. I swear to God. I don't know. Like the chemistry exhibited by those two, I feel like there's much more to explore there. And that's not to say that after the first game, it's like, okay, man, I'm not feeling it. I don't think Michkov's going to be a good partner for TK and Couturier, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bump him down to the second, bring Tippett up to the first. Like, okay, that might work. But like Frost and Michkov, I would like to see get an extended look together on the second line. I think it would be great. I don't see any harm in it in the first, handful of games, just because, again, a lot of new players, well, a couple new players, but you need to feel it out. You need to have them get into a rhythm. And if Michkov's not getting into that rhythm with that first line, he's already kind of gotten into somewhat of a rhythm with Frost. So why not bring that back,
I think you're going to see something. I mean, one, we all know that these lines aren't going to stick past like 6 games, unless for some reason
the first period in some cases.
So we'll see it at some point. I'm very confident we will. I just feel like it's going to be interesting to see Michkov and Luchanko, quite frankly, when you're going up against, in Michkov's case, the top line, the top shutdown line, defensive pairings and things like that of another team. And, again, not to say he hasn't done a great job so far, not to say we have any reason to think otherwise, but all of a sudden, like, it becomes a reality check pretty quickly. And, same thing with Luchanko, even a third line center, like, dude, you don't back check, you're in bad shape there. And so playing wing has got to be tough. Playing center, you got double responsibilities there. And so
right.
I don't know. That has me a little bit. That third line really has me nervous, if I'm being totally honest with you. I just feel like it's a small line. And the
biggest guy, I think, is Luchanko, either him or Farabee. But
probably
I think
Luchanko.
Luchanko's what? Is Luchanko 5'11", 6 foot, something like that, 200 pounds or 180? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So I don't know.
I mean, he's 18.
Right. But I think the other interesting part is Farabee, who just I don't know. I just haven't heard a lot. And are we just at a point with him where is it him or Cates rotating in on wing? Is that the way things go?
I'm not opposed to that. I think, especially on the third line, that looks like it's lacking a bit on the D side of things. Cates wouldn't be a bad addition to that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm having unless Farabee really, and I know he was coming off of surgery last year and he'd played through a ton, but like, I think this is a little bit of a make or break year for Farabee, I think, with this team. The same way that it is with Frost.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are on last year's of their contracts that it's make or break. But I think, I feel like not Brink.
Briere.
Yeah, no, Farabee had an actually pretty good camp. That's why I feel like we haven't heard too much from him, because when it's good, you don't hear anything. You know what I mean?
I think that applies to defensemen, not necessarily with forwards.
I don't know. Sometimes with him, you really don't. When he's doing the little things correctly, I feel
right.
Like.
Hey, maybe it works. They're seeing something we don't. I also think, like, hey, if you do need a little bit of that'd be tough too. I was gonna say move Paling up, but I mean, I guess Paling can play wing if he needs to, but
it's where you toss Lawton in.
That's a fair point. Yeah,
and then Delorier comes back.
Yeah,
that's how you.
Right.
That's how you.
I mean, you've got bottom of the lineup options at center. Like Lawton can go back to center. You can plug in Paling. You can plug in.
I forgot about Lawton, guys. I literally forgot about Lawton.
Do I need to get the freaking t-shirt?
Yeah,
I'll get it.
18 t-shirts.
It's a cardinal sin on this show when Hoagie's here. Jeez.
You guys probably didn't see, but I went stage diving on Friday.
No,
I did see that video.
We did not see that, but
it's everywhere.
I did. I saw the video.
Where were you,
man?
At a Depeche Mode concert?
Huh?
Where were you?
Kung Fu Necktie, seeing Goalkeeper.
You said words there, and I don't know what they mean.
Kung Fu Necktie.
Gotta be careful, man.
Concert venue.
Anyway,
You're a dad now, man. You can't be caught doing that crap.
There's evidence. Who cares?
All right. So let's go from the forwards to the defensemen here. 7 defensemen on the roster. You have Jamie Drysdale, Eric Johnson, Rasmus Ristolainen, Travis Sanheim, Nick Seeler, Cam York, and Yegor Zamula. Any shock and surprise there?
no. The name missing is Emil Andre.
Yep.
Right.
But I don't think I'm not surprised he's not up there, but he's gonna get a look. And I think it'll be good. I mean, yeah. I think the biggest surprise of this camp is my boy Risto. I think Risto.
He's ready.
Risto for Norris, man. He heard it here first. I'm gonna start that
buddy.
campaign. But he's coming off of surgery and whatever was going on last year, he looks good. I think, I don't know. I've always liked Risto in the game he brings, and if he's able to maximize, especially with this roster and defensive core, which isn't very big besides he and Sealer, I think it could be a great time for him.
It's a team. It's a city that loves big, heavy guys that play big, heavy games, and Risto does that. He's more known for that, but also like revisiting early in his career, he can put up points too, and as evidenced by his preseason performance here. So good to see that from the get-go, and hopefully, he can use that moving forward and kind of build on that. Hoagie, your thoughts? Any surprises on the D end here?
Do we think we're going to see a game where we play 7 defensemen again?
Yes.
Yes.
And I bet we see it
100%.
within the first 10 games.
I might jump out the window.
Yeah, I hate it.
Right.
I hate it because I feel like Johnson's just going to be our stowaway up in the press box, which is fine because that's what he is. He's that veteran guy who's reaching out to Michkov and this one and that one, saying, "Hey, come on and play. We're ready to have you."
Yeah.
I just don't think he's going to push a needle for us come the regular season. So I'd rather him just stay there. But I mean, God forbid we need a 7D on a back end of back to back. Sure, why not?
I also
What's
feel
going to
like
happen? It'll happen on the West Coast here too.
I also feel like we got to remember the identity of this team is quick transition and blocking shots. There's no way this defensive core is going through unscathed. And I feel like we were lucky last year to make it as long as we did. And,
that was just them riding the injuries. Because, once the season ends, they go through those interviews and they're like, yep, I'm getting injury on this. I'm getting surgery on this one. I got this. It's like, geez.
So, if we need if we need him, what is his name? I already forgot his name.
Zamula Johnson.
Johnson. Jesus, Eric Johnson. If we need him to come in and just take some bullets, man, it's like, hey, you're on the penalty kill and gonna have 10 minutes of ice time, like block some shots. But I don't mind it. I'm more so curious on what you guys think of the potential pairings. I think we all have in mind what it might be, but do you think there's going to be a shakeup of that top 4 in particular?
I think so.
Yeah, I was racking my head trying to do it before. Yeah, top pair solidified. York and Sanheim. Yeah,
of course.
I think the bottom 4 is kind of where it gets weird.
Because you basically have,
I'd like to see Drysdale on second pair. I'd like to see him and Risto together.
Him and Risto?
I had that written down as well. Risto and Drysdale. Yep. I think it should work, honestly. And then you have Sealer with Samula.
I don't hate that. Are we reading it all? Is Drysdale a lefty or a righty? Do we know? I feel like he's a righty too.
Yeah, I do. That's something I do not know offhand.
I feel like he is, but I'm not sure.
I like that though. I like that dynamic with left, right. But at the end of the day, too, like, how many times does it happen where 4 of your defensemen are left-handed and 2 of them are right-handed? You just can't do it for every pair.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, I know that Drysdale and Sealer were together for a little bit, and then I believe it was Drysdale and Was it Drysdale and not Samula? I can't remember at this point, honestly.
Yeah,
But I would like to see Drysdale get an expanded look because I think that everything that he said has indicated that he's ready to go, fully healthy, no lingering issues, which is great. You know, I hope that's the case. We've all seen what something surrounding your core muscles can do to you, a la Kevin Hayes, second reference of the night.
Yeah, we're on a roll.
I just hope that isn't something that is going to linger past last season. So if it doesn't, great. We get a full, healthy look at what Jamie Drysdale can do. And I think you're going to get the best out of him with a guy like Ristolainen. And because
I would be happy with it.
Are limited.
Yeah, I would be happy with that pairing if it ends up working out. What I don't see working out is a Drysdale Zamula pairing, but watch that becomes our top, our go-to pairing.
Right.
I just feel like they're, I don't know, Zamula had quietly played himself into a position last year. Apparently he's done pretty well. I just feel like he's become solid. I just don't know what his ceiling really is. I'm comfortable with him on the third pairing. I don't know if I'm comfortable with him taking second pairing minutes.
Are you okay with him playing PP2 again?
No.
Because that's where they have him.
No. Oh god damn it. Wait, so they have
you want to try to guess PP units? Mine's about 7.
Sure.
The banging of the microphone.
I knew you were going
so much worth it.
Damn it.
So power play
you got
1.
us, Hoagie.
You have York quarterbacking.
Nope.
Sanheim.
Nope.
Drysdale.
Yep.
Oh.
Drysdale quarterbacking.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
Then you have Frost.
Yep.
TK.
Mitchkov.
Yep.
And then
Tippett.
So
that's PP1.
That's PP1.
You got the firing squad on that one. I like that. I can get behind that.
And then PP2, you have
that's probably our best looking power play one in years, probably since Drew Voracek. Honestly,
yeah,
very creative, very young. Yeah.
And then PP2,
so
you have
PP2 then
Zamula. You already said.
Yep.
Then York, you're doubling down on D. No York on power play.
No York on power
Couturier.
play. Nope.
Wow. Oh, Farabee.
Yep.
Brink.
Yep.
Forster.
Yep.
Jet
Luchanko.
Oh,
I can't believe they don't have York on a power play unit.
Yeah,
that seems awesome. I'm gonna call some people.
I feel like Drysdale took it over.
No, but for PP2,
I'm cool.
I mean, Zamula held his own last year on PP2.
Yeah,
he scored some goals.
Think about it. Think about it this way, though. Like he's our 6th defenseman right now because our 5th defenseman is Nick Seeler. No way Zamula is going to overtake that spot from him. So you're telling me that your 6th defenseman is going to quarterback a power play unit. If that's like, what other aspects of his game are keeping him in the lineup? Because my thought process is if someone plays their way into the lineup, like Ginning, like
Andre.
It's escaping me. Andre. If one of those two plays themselves into the lineup, Zamula's gone. He's the one that sits.
See, but I feel like our D core is just so logjam now, and I feel like we have our set defensive core that they're not going to be banging on the door unless there's an injury, a long-term injury. That's just how I feel, because I feel like Andre, they weren't playing for spots to lose. They were just playing for spots to get. You know what I mean?
So all I'll just say, if we play that scenario out, it depends on who goes down. If Drysdale has his 18th injury of his career, I don't think you can replace Drysdale with a Ginning or a Yinning.
But I also don't think York really takes that over. York doesn't bring.
No, but I'm saying like that's when you put Andre in. But if you have Risto go down, I don't think you can put Andre in place of Risto. Like you need a little bit more beef back there.
Yep, absolutely.
So I don't know. I think
Hunter McDonald enters the show.
yes, the Hunter McDonald, Eric Johnson combo.
Dude, they for some reason they just love that Hunter McDonald kid. I don't know what it is.
I kind of disagree with that mindset. And the reason being is that if you're separating defensemen into two types of defensemen, big defensemen, small defensemen, in my eyes, your big defensemen are Ristolainen, Sanheim, Sealer. And then you've got your small defensemen, which York, Zamula, and Drysdale.
Zamula's not small.
He's on the small
No.
end.
See, I think you're doing it. You're doing it too literally. You're like nobody's gonna be like, wow, that physical presence in Travis Sanheim, like him and his Gumby ass arms. Like, come on.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't think that they're gonna look at that as like the end all be all in terms of like, oh, Risto went down, it's got to be Jinning, like because
no, but I think it's got to be a consideration. Because if your biggest defenseman comes down, you can't put in 5'10" Emil Andre. Like you got it. You know that's maybe where
I think you can. Well, sure, Johnson could come in, but like let's look at it this way: if Andre's knocking the door down in Lehigh Valley, how are you going to say like, no, man, sorry, we're going to play Eric Johnson, who's been sitting in the press box for 20 games?
I agree with that.
They definitely are.
Yeah,
they'll do that.
So like, I'm cool, and I do see a scenario obviously in which they do, but like, I find it hard pressed to believe that they wouldn't say, all right, Andre, like you're staying down in Lehigh Valley, even though let's say through 20 games he's got like 17 points. He's leading the Phantoms in ice time, all aspects and doing really well. Like, what more do you want then? Because in his head, he's going to be like, what else do you want to see from me?
Take the body. That it also depends on where the team, like what the team needs too. And that's what I guess what I'm getting at is like, hey, if the team is scoring at a great rate, like you don't need more production from the blue line. You need people to be stay-at-home defense. And I think that's the more like the more stay-at-home versus like unleash, go up the ice. And we know that Sanheim theoretically can go up the ice, but I feel like that's York's kind of role in this thing is getting up there. Risto obviously stay at home. Sealer obviously stay at home. So I think like, I don't think it has to be one or the other, but I don't think a long-term fix is to get like a smaller blue line if one of our two like legit big guys goes down.
Yeah.
Like I just don't I just don't see how that's gonna work. And maybe it does. Maybe we're totally overthinking it. It's like skill overpowers all. Yay. Like we're now, we're doing this. But also like we don't exactly have the biggest forward group either. Right. And so, where our fourth line can get after it, especially if you put Delorier in there. But like, we're not exactly packing in, packing the truckloads here.
Sure. No, understood. Now, anything else? Because we're a half hour into the show and we haven't even gotten entirely through the defenseman yet.
All right, keep going.
I feel like we're good on defenseman.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Perfect. Goalies, I think might be good on that too. Urson and Fedotov. Man, anybody? I'll leave it this way. Anybody here expecting Kolosov to make the team out of camp?
No, they already said he's not, right?
Unless he
did anybody expect Kolosov to make it out of the camp?
Unless he like threw up unreal numbers and had like 3 shutouts, sure, maybe, I don't know, but I the whole fiasco just confuses me. Like there's an option for him to go back. There's an option for him. I just don't know. What did Briere say? I wrote it down. I think it's just like nothing's set in stone. Like we're just gonna let it ride. I'm like, well, all right. So is there a trade on the table? Like what is going on here?
The only way I will allow Kolosov to join this team is if he individually has to do the first day rope skate that he missed. Like he missed early season training. And I think that's what annoys me. It's like, dude.
Interesting facet there.
The thing that annoys you. I get
that's
it now.
The thing that irks me. Is you called in sick on conditioning day.
That was my go-to back in my track days.
I'm not surprised by you.
I run 110 meters at the longest. Like, come on. What do I need to run 2 miles for?
But look, isn't he already with Lehigh? Like, isn't
Yes.
Kolosov
Oh, yeah.
already with?
He played
So, like,
Saturday.
yeah.
I think it's just look, Urson. We have no indication to say he's not doing. He's not a clear cut number one right now. Like he's done the job, and hopefully, hopefully we found something great with him, and I really hope we did. But with Fedotov, all right, man, Russian on Russian, let's go.
Yep,
Belarusian.
And Fedotov hasn't done anything really to convince me that he's even going to push Urson, in terms of skill level.
Not.
And I hope he does. Like, I hope that at the very least he becomes a competent, backup / 1B, however they want to roll with it. However, like I see a scenario sometime this season where Fedotov and Kolosov swap, and I could see Kolosov being the backup to Urson.
Yep.
And I'd be cool with that, because at the end of the day, I don't care the name, I don't care anything else but just the play. If Kolosov's playing better than Fedotov, Kolosov deserves backup / 1B.
After he does the rope skate.
Yeah, that should be like, hey, you're getting called up under one condition. Under two conditions, you're not going back to Russia, just like everybody else has been talking about. And two, rope skate.
And three,
he's like, no.
And three, you have to sit middle seat on every single road trip. It's on a plane.
No window seats.
Yeah.
Between who though?
Delorier and Hathaway.
Or Lawton or somebody. And here we go with the thumbs up again. Oh, Casey, you missed it.
Yeah.
Casey missed it earlier before the show. I had fireworks behind my head. I don't know how I did that one, but
I can't do it. Huh.
I don't know why.
Said something explosive. No clue. But yeah, so goalie talk. We're good there. We talked about surprises too. We kind of, brought 2 points together in that one. Let's be a little optimistic. Let's say everything falls in the team's favor. Jet Luchanko turns out to be the perfect 3C. Matvey Michkov is our all-star, perennial all-star, just generational talent of a player. And we see fantastic production from guys like Forrester, even Couturier, and Farabee's back on track. This team, where do they stand? Not just in terms of the NHL, but like, let's start with the Metropolitan Division. Like, where do they stand within their own division?
Hoagie, you want to go first?
I'm riding with what I said last year. I think we're still a bubble team.
No, we're saying optimistic. We're saying optimistic.
Yeah, I am optimistic.
I know it's tough to be optimistic. We're not that outlet, but like, we're trying to be.
I'm optimistic that they are a bubble team, and I think they'll be pushing for like an actual division seed. I think they'll be flirting with the wild card, but actually pushing for a wild card seed, or not a wild card, division seed.
Okay,
I say optimistically, we land one of those top 3 Metro seeds. I think that, like, if everything clicks and everything's in place, and including the goaltending, we can do that, because I'm looking more so around the rest of the league, or the rest of the Metro, and it's like Rangers, yeah, Carolina, maybe. Like, I think they're a playoff team, but like, are they that good? Like,
sure.
Devils, is anybody going to put money on the Devils this year after last year's collapse? I would like to think they're going to be better, but like Washington, Pittsburgh, Columbus, the Islanders, like. I don't know what the Islanders are going to be.
Pittsburgh and Washington are not what they used to be. Like, that's not the two teams you look at, 1-2 every single year.
They're riding on the curtails of Crosby and Ovechkin.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much longer are they going to be able to do
one last gasp out of that thing. So I think optimistically, that's on the table.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
I would say the 3 seed, honestly.
Okay.
I think if everything falls into place, every single card falls into place, you're looking at the number 2 team in the Metro.
Okay.
That is a tall task, though. So, again, Farabee's on track. Urson delivers a performance, that we just are enamored by. And Michkov turns into this just freaking superstar, which damn well could happen. I think that's more realistic than anything else.
And Couturier
defense holds it together.
Selke winning.
Right. If we can get 70, 75 points from Couturier, if we can get like 80 points from Michkov, and if Konechny continues the pace he was at last year too, like, I'd love to see big steps from Forrester. I'd love to see big steps from Brink.
I'd love to see a power play that wasn't garbage.
I'd love to see a power play at least at 20%.
Talked about
that's
that
not
today.
even.
Breer talked
That's
about
not
that
even like
today.
top half.
He said
I
they
think 20%.
If they were like 10% better, they probably would have been a playoff team last year.
If they're like
Very
we
well could
were
have
a
been.
playoff team last year until we were like we lost.
But think back,
yeah.
like if they scored those goals on those power plays and the game decided, like it could have decided the game, that could have pushed them to be a playoff
100%.
team.
So your optimistic view is second in the Metro. I'm going third in the Metro. That's my optimism there.
Yeah. Now, Hoagie, realistically, where's this team at?
Scott Lawton is captain by the trade deadline now.
Just
realistically,
you just had to, didn't you?
yeah. Realistically, I'm thinking probably wild card. They lock up wild card 1. You know, other teams in the Metro do their things that they always do towards the end of the season, and they get jumped somehow.
Okay. And Casey.
Realistically, I think we are in the exact same scenario that we are at the end of last season with 10 games to go. And it's going to be, okay, we were here last year. What do we do? Like, I think it's going to be a fight to the bitter end to get a wild card.
And it's going to be a wake-up call because they did it last year, and they still have that sour taste in their mouth.
Yep. And so I think realistically, that's almost where I want them to be. Like, I think that, you know, you want them scratching and clawing for every single point. And I think last year can be a great learning experience. And then, you know, even one round of the playoffs, that can be a great learning experience for a bunch of 25 and under kids.
Right.
And the one thing that sets them aside from how it happened last year, and I'll further elaborate, Matvei Michkov. It's not based on skill. It's based off the mentality. That man does not like losing. And he is going to bring a temperament, I feel like, to this locker room where everybody else is going to look at that and say, I want better too. This guy's expecting perfection. This guy's expecting us to you know, execute day in, day out. I think people are going to follow. And that's what could be the difference between last year missing the playoffs and this year potentially making it in those last 10 games.
Hoagie, do you have a question?
Hoagie's been like,
I have a statement. I don't want someone to take this the wrong way, so I'm putting a disclaimer out there. I'm not comparing Michkov to a certain player out in the NHL.
Lindros, Eric Lindros, right?
No, in the NHL. Current. Do we see a Michkov Russian outburst after a like terrible loss where he just screams and chews everybody out similarly to how McDavid did in the playoffs? Do you think there's like a lackluster effort of a game where he just loses his cool?
And if he does, it's unacceptable. That needs to come from the captain.
Because he's so young, right?
Yeah. I don't think you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can, you know, you can notice it in his play and stuff like that. I think both of your points are very good though, where it's like, all right, can Michkov be the difference? And again, let's not over like a 19,
he is not
20, you know,
he's 19. I'm not putting Michkov up as our savior. Much as like the Martinez's and the Torts and everybody has said, do not do that. I just think he's going to be a game changer, difference maker for this team. He still has a lot to learn.
I think the difference is Konechny, to his absolute credit, like when we needed a goal last year, Konechny was there. He was the guy to try to get the goal. And a lot of times he did. And now I think we have two guys that can do that.
Yeah.
And I think that is a difference.
And you say that, and it makes me think of Giroux, you know, that backhand goal by Giroux. Like, we needed a goal, and he just figured out a way to make a goal.
Who's the guy that you have on the ice with 4 seconds left and a face-off in the offensive zone?
You have Michkov and TK together, and they're just sort of recapping. And then, you know, after a while, you sprinkle in Frost and see what the hell happens.
No, I like that. I think that's a very good point. And to what Hoagie had mentioned here, like those type of outbursts, I'm okay with that. Like it's a very high pressure game. Lots happening in a very little amount of time. Like emotions run very high. You know, what I'm not okay with is the mindset in thinking that that's okay. Like it's one thing to have the outburst, okay, this sucks, buckle up, let's tighten up, whatever. It's another thing to think that that's, that could be the norm and that you can just do that and fly off the handle without there being repercussions. Like that right there tells me that you're placing yourself above the team when there's a captain that if there's an outburst, which maybe there shouldn't be, I don't know. That outburst should come from either A, the captain, or B, one of the more senior people in that locker room. I don't want to see it from a rookie. I don't want to see it from a kid who just made the team, like a Luchanko, Michkov too. I don't even really want to see it from a Bobby Brink or a Tyson Forrester for that matter.
No.
Yeah. If it's going to happen, it's got to be Couturier, Konechny, and maybe Lawton.
Who's the last one that like destroyed his stick on a wall?
Farabee did.
Farabee.
But you know what? I'm cool. I'm cool without outburst. That wasn't an outburst on the team. That was an outburst because
of his own frustration,
and he went in and he was pissed. But I was like,
yeah,
man. And that was in this. Yeah. Like we were so bad. We were so, and that was like the only glimmer of light that we had there. So I think that's a difference. I think the outburst that Derek's talking about, and I don't know the McDavid one. I mean, I assume, but I think the worst case scenario is you have it from a guy who's really not pulling his own weight anyway, which like, I'm not saying that's what Michkov would do, but like, okay, look at Tony DeAngelo calling everybody out under the sun. Now he's like playing in the
KHL All-Star.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, that's where it's like, dude, shut up. And I think there's a huge difference of having a player, address the team in a way, but they gotta damn be a good player to do it, number one, and make sure they're doing the right thing. And also there needs to be a little bit of seniority in there. But if there's a lack of leadership, which I don't think there is in this room, and everything from like even Garnet Hathaway or Delorier or like something like cool. You guys want to speak up? You guys absolutely can speak up as well. Right. But I also don't think a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old is gonna speak up one way or the other. If he gets pissed at his own game, like Farabee did a couple years ago, so be it. I'm all for it.
Perfect.
Like that shows passion.
Right. Yeah. Handle it yourself. Don't drag other people into it and start berating other people. Smash your stick, whatever. Go out there, kick something. I get it. I do it too. There's a couple holes in the wall. Whatever. I think that's just anger issues, but regardless. So got through everything in regards to the roster, got through a lot of what our expectations look like as well. Is there anything either of you, I'll start with you, Hoagie, that you want to add before we wrap things up here tonight?
Yes, Scott London, if you're listening, we are still trying to figure out what to do with all these t-shirts and when you're coming on to the pod. So shoot us a DM and we'll talk then.
That's the clip right there.
Rarely do I feel like of the people on this show, I have Hoagie's back the most, whether that's good or bad. I do have Hoagie's back on this, though. I feel like there was a handshake agreement in place that Lawton would come on this podcast and talk with us.
There's plenty of proof.
Right. I'm not going to say that I think any lesser of the man. I still love him. But, it'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun to get him on the show here to talk some hockey.
Because he's such
Matt Casey.
I
like him.
Just looking forward to having hockey back. I feel like it crept up a little bit. And just excited to have it. And I'm excited to see not only the players and the lineup, but also like how they're responding to coaching still, because I think that's another X factor that we haven't talked about is Torts' message still getting through after year 3? Was there enough momentum last year? I think somebody said this in the prior, are we getting the team that ended last year or the team that started last year?
Right.
Because if we're going with the team that was 3-10 at the end of the year, like we're in for a long one here.
Yikes.
I don't think we are. I think this team
Honestly,
is going to sneak up on people.
Yeah, I think this team's just going to be riding on the excitement and just the excitement of Michkov just being in the lineup, because like when they're going to be playing in Wells Fargo, there's going to be an electric atmosphere. And I know one game's all circled on our calendars is what, January 11th, I think it is, when Anaheim comes to town. Like that place is going to be rocking.
Hey, you know what? I
hope we see like a Giroux-esque hit on Crosby via Michkov to
coincidentally that's Delorier's first game of the year.
Saving him up, all that pent up aggression.
Starting the lineup with Delorier, Hathaway, and Paling up there,
and
put Risto at center just because.
No, you know what though? I got the family. I got the company box tickets for the Chicago Flyers game in November. So the Bedard Michkov match up there.
Here we go.
So we're all family, right?
Yeah. I'll meet you down where the regular people watch their game again.
Yeah, right.
Ooh. Damn.
Bastard.
Jesus, Casey. Look at you.
Look at
putting yourself up on a pedestal like we're putting Michkov up on one.
I mean, and John's not even here for it.
The box is in the corner, though. It's a tough view. It's a tough view.
Oh, you peasant, you.
You'll be fine.
All right. Well, in signing off, I guess I got to take over for John, too. But you can find us on all your various podcast listening receptacles, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, and all those obsolete ones that, let's be honest, nobody ever listens to. You can find me on Twitter, Pod Street Bob. Hoagie's on Twitter, Pod Street Hoags. John's not on Twitter anymore. Casey is on Twitter. Not anymore. No. Did you deleted the app? You still have it?
Yeah, I still have it on my desktop. So I'm not on Twitter very much unless I'm actually on my desktop, which is not a lot.
Gotcha. So he's on there, Pod Street Casey, and it's X now. I keep saying that. I'll never call it X again.
It's Twitter.
It's always Twitter. Forever. And then all of us on Twitter at PodSDBullies. But folks, until then, we've got a game on Friday night to enjoy. I'll be up a little bit later. And
Flyers after
let's go
dark.
Flyers.
Go Flyers.
Oh, there we go. I was waiting for the bye now.